Ready, go. Sunday night, May 28, 2023. Glad to have you with us for this evening's accident recap in the last 7 days. I'm going to show those to you. Actually, we're going to zoom through all of May so far. We've had a whole bunch of them since I sat here last Sunday night, so we'll go over those. Here they are on the screen, and we'll be talking about those in a minute. But before we do that, I'm going to reward your click here. I'll get right to the chase, what everybody wants to talk about. I've got more calls, emails, and texts over this Asiana thing. I'll tell you straight up front, I'm not an Airbus expert. I don't know a lot about it, but I'm going to show you the footage. Everybody's probably seen it, and I'll give you my 2 cents worth on it. If you're an expert, maybe you can set me straight. But the Airbus A300 series, 319, 320, 321, is not really a plug-type door. It's slightly different than the Boeing's. I think the Boeing 787 has a door similar to what Airbus does on all of their fleet. So is it possible to open a door on an Airbus? Yes, it is, if the cabin PSID, pressure pounds per square inch differential, is low enough. I don't know how low that has to be, but somewhere down below 1,000 feet, I believe, on any airplane, opening a door would be possible on the Airbus because it's not a plug door. In addition, the Airbus does have a charge, some kind of a charge that goes off that assists the door in opening, that actually blows the door open. So on the Asiana, not only did this person was he able to open the door, but the charge assisted the door in coming open. So the aircraft was on approach, and the door blew open. The slide did deploy. I believe the slide did leave the airplane. It just got ripped off of it. What does this mean for us as travelers? I don't know, but I don't like any of it. I don't like the blind leading the blind on our flight crews, our total degradation in the ATC system, our total degradation in flight training, and now further degradation in security and further degradation in the ability of a passenger to open a door in flight. I've never thought about it before, but this is a new wrinkle, and I'm sure if this person got away with it, it's not long until the next person tries it, and that is very concerning. I'm sure there will be engineers and people much smarter than me working on this problem, trying to develop a fail-safe way for not allowing a passenger to open a door in flight. The problem is we have to make the doors where a passenger can open it on the ground. If a true emergency does exist and everybody's got to get out, it may not be possible for a flight crew member to come back and open the door for you. That's why if you read those briefing cards, they tell you how to open the doors, and they want you to know how to open the doors if you have to. No one's ever really considered that a passenger would try to open one in flight. I certainly haven't, but in this particular case, this guy definitely got it done, and here's the video footage of it, both from the front angle that you're seeing right here, taken from a little bit forward. The video is actually fairly clear, and then also you can see just a little bit of the footage taken from the rear. So we'll all be watching this one. I'm kind of concerned over this. As I have predicted in the past, we're about to see a whole bunch of Part 121 heavy airliner accidents worldwide, not just in the U.S., but it's going to be complicated by very, very inexperienced flight crews, very, very low-time people flying these airplanes with hundreds of people on board. And now we have, in addition to this, we have homeland security issues and threat issues, and we have people on board our airplane that don't necessarily have to have a gun or a knife or a bomb. They can simply open a door in flight, and that represents a whole new wrinkle to me, and I don't have an answer on that, but I didn't invent it, and it's already been widely reported. Everybody else has already talked about it, but it is a problem. Let's go on and take a look at the next one that we talked about last week. This is Honda. The problem with these Honda airplanes, they're great little airplanes. They're fairly efficient. Here's the excerpt from Flying Magazine showing that this particular operator is opting out of operating. They're doing a safety stand down and getting rid of all of their Honda aircraft. It's kind of a shame because the Honda is actually an okay airplane. Its main problem is it doesn't have thrust reverse, which means on a very short runway and a wet runway, getting the thing stopped is always a problem. In addition, the Honda can be bought by any random millionaire who happens to have a few $1 million laying around, and he wants to be the hero and fly this thing single pilot. The Honda can be operated very easily by anybody with enough money. They can simply buy it. And you're seeing, I think the result of that North Carolina crash was unrelated to the operator who has now since stopped operating those airplanes. You have to fly a stabilized approach. You have to be on speed with checklist complete on the center line on red over white, and you have to touch down early and have your throttles closed to be prepared to stop, and your anti-skid, anti-brake system needs to be working properly. And you need to go to the book and figure out on a wet runway how many feet it's going to take you to get stopped and leave a healthy margin. You rich guys out there with your jet toys aren't doing that. You're just flying in, flying any speeds you want, landing your airplane and hoping for the best. And it's ruining our industry. You guys out there that are doing this and flying the unstabilized approaches, there's been way too many runway excursions, private jet, owner-flown airplanes by single rich doctor types that are way too much money, buying way too much equipment and going off the end. It's not good. And I'm sorry for the rant, but that's kind of what this is. There's not really that much wrong with the Honda itself. I don't have any particulars on the maintenance or data or cost or reliability, any of those kind of things, which I've heard all about in addition to it. But I will say that theoretically, it is a stoppable airplane. You just have to operate it professionally and cautiously and conservatively, and don't take that airplane into places where you should not be taking it into. Let's take a look at the next one. The final report came out on 501 Romeo Golf. This was from 2020, February of 2020. This airplane was a spatial disorientation crash. This airplane definitely crashed. It pulled itself apart in flight. They weren't sure which ADI was correct. They got the thing going too fast and banked too hard. They destroyed the airplane in flight. The entire airplane came apart in flight. All 4 people died. I went to this crash site. I was there sometime after it happened. There was still airplane jet debris still laying out there even yet today. And a horrible accident, but this was a true spatial disorientation accident. I'm not sure how 2 pilots got that spatially disoriented with that many ADIs, but the path is a descending spiral, a gentle descending spiral until it got going too fast, and then they pulled it apart. That is the path of spatial disorientation. Now let's take a look at the next one. This one is fascinating. So this has to do with an F-33A Bonanza and a doctor flying it. This crash happened in August of 2019, and I went to this crash site. I've always wanted to go there, so I'm going to show you this footage next. Here's me at the crash site. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This is the spot where the Bonanza hit. August 18, 2018. This is the spot. They always talked about the gazebo that it damaged. It's right here. The airplane hit nose down, going very fast, and it scattered debris all down along this path. I'm not sure how fast this airplane was going when it hit, but it was going crazy fast. Intentional IMC after takeoff, he got distracted in the clouds, and it only took a few seconds to come out of the clouds. He didn't stall spin. This was not spatial disorientation. He got distracted and drove it into the ground, is all that happened on this one. Happened to be here in Philly today. I've always wanted to come and see this particular spot on the ground, which is still laying here today. Now I'm going to show you a Google Earth picture of this. This is the path that the airplane flew, but I want to go over really what happened here. The NTSB has released their final probable cause, and I'm going to read it to you, and I'm also going to put it on the screen here. The NTSB probable cause looked at this, took all their data, and they came up with this. They called it spatial disorientation. I disagree. So let's read the NTSB probable cause. Here it is. The National Transportation Safety Board determines the probable cause of this accident to be the pilot's loss of airplane control due to spatial disorientation during the departure climb after entering instrument meteorological conditions. Well, that may be true, but I'm going to have you back up just a second here, and let's listen to the ATC tape. I'm going to show you a little bit of this here. The guy got his clearance wrong. He was behind. It was early morning. This was in an airplane. He did have a significant amount of flight time. Not a lot, but he wasn't a beginner either. He did have almost, I believe, 900 hours total time in his logbook. So he was not absolutely brand new. What he did here was take off. He requested 3.3 when they were using 1.5, so the controller gave him the wrong way. They allowed him to take off on 3.3, but what the real deal is that he never got his route correct. He didn't get the route that he was expecting. He had trouble reading back his route. He got corrected 3 times on his route read back. When he finally got down there, he was so far behind, he elected to skip his run-up, and he told the controller that, "He's ready, I'm skipping my run-up."
Bravo Alpha, and will not need a run-up. 402 Sierra, thanks.
Then he gets down to runway 33. He's still on ground control. They switch him to tower, but he never switches to tower. They gave him a departure control frequency. I don't know that he ever had it set. When he requests a clearance for takeoff, he's still on ground control frequency. The local controller should have caught that, should have recognized he's transmitting on ground and got him to set the correct tower frequency, maybe even going the extra mile, confirming that the departure frequency is ready to go in the standby, so that all you have to do is hit one button and you're ready to go. Now, after takeoff, it was only 91 seconds after the initial takeoff clearance was given that the same local controller advised him to contact departure. If you do the math, this airplane would have rolled all the way down the runway, lifted off, and been at about 100 feet, just entering reduced visibility conditions when the controller tells him to contact departure. This is the same place just about that he's putting the gear up and the workload is the highest. No autopilot, no co-pilot. He's hand flying. He's trying to go up, and she tells him to contact departure. Well, he squeezes the mic and tries to contact departure. Guess what? He's still on ground control. ATC never did switch him to local tower control 126.9. He's still on ground control. So she tells him a second time, contact departure, and she gives him the frequency. He read the frequency back, but he never was able to, when he read the frequency back, he was never able to contact departure. Let's listen to the sequence here.
Yeah, this is Northeast Aflac, opposite direction, November 4082 Sierra, off runway 33.
For 33, release.
Release.
And my control turns?
Yes, your control for turns. Easy. November 4082 Sierra, wind calm, runway 33, clear for takeoff.
Clear to takeoff, runway 33. 402 Sierra, thanks.
November 82 Sierra, contact for departure, safe flight.
82 Sierra. Philadelphia approach, November 4082 Sierra.
November 4082 Sierra, you're still up on Northeast, Philly is on 124.35.
124.35, 82 Sierra.
So what this means to me is that the pilot is wrestling with his Garmin 530, trying to figure out frequencies. And in the 530, the numbers are tiny. If he did not have his departure frequency set in there, when she read it to him, he would have to remember it and physically dial it into the standby, then hit the flip-flop. What he did was he got so distracted trying to fix his frequency problem, realizing that he's still on ground control frequency. He doesn't have departure set. And what does he do with aircraft control? Aircraft control goes out the window. This was not spatial disorientation. He simply got so distracted and so focused on fixing his frequency problem that the yoke went forward and to the right, and he descended and he flew it right into the neighborhood. Here's the Google Earth picture of his descent compared to where I was standing in my video. Here's his descent. He was so focused on fixing his frequency problem, he was not head outside. He was not looking outside. He never saw the Earth rising up to smite him because he was all inside trying to fix his frequency problem. Let me read The DTSB probable cause, I'll give it to you and put it on the screen here. The DTSB determines the probable cause of this accident to be the pilot's frustration due to prolonged ground delays and new ATC unexpected routing, which resulted in numerous readback errors and confusion on the ground. The pilot was behind schedule and advised ATC that he was omitting his run-up. The local controller cleared the pilot for takeoff even though he was still communicating on a ground control frequency. It is unknown but doubtful that the pilot ever had the correct tower and departure frequency set in the appropriate positions. The local controller added to the error chain by instructing the pilot to contact departure only 91 seconds after the takeoff clearance, which equates to around 100 AGL or during gear retraction, the highest workload phase. The pilot was instructed to contact departure via transmission on a ground control frequency. The pilot did read back the correct frequency, but attempted to contact departure on the same ground control frequency. The pilot was single pilot, solid IMC, and faced with frequency confusion. After reading back the correct departure frequency, there were no more transmissions from him. This flight should have never been launched wrong way on the wrong frequency and handed off this soon. The pilot was hand flying, severely distracted in trying to manually dial in the departure frequency and did not realize that he was descending and turning right. The probable cause of this accident is an uncorrected ATC error and unnecessary distraction by ATC given during a high workload complicated by lack of pilot IFR proficiency. He wasn't that swift of a pilot in the first place, not super proficient, and he was a doctor. This isn't something that he did every day. He got bamboozled, and he got handed way too much stuff to do. Trying to home in and focus in on fixing that frequency problem causes you to look down, not outside. He was inside the cockpit, staring at those frequencies and fiddling with the switches and knobs, trying to get the correct frequency set. That's all that happened here. I'm sorry for getting so worked up, but that it just happens. This is distraction, and this distraction should have been abetted by ATC, who should have never launched this thing until everything was nice and warm and fuzzy and everybody's good and we're on the correct frequency going the correct way and everybody's nice. Should have never happened. Finally, I'm going to read the ATC report out of the NTSB docket on this accident. I'll read it to you here right now, but it specifically says that the controller cleared November 4082 Sierra for takeoff on runway 33. Wind was calm. The controller instructed the pilot to switch to Philadelphia approach. The pilot thought they were calling Philadelphia departure. However, they were still on Northeast Philly ground control frequency 121.7, and the controller instructed the pilot to switch to 124.35. That's all that happened here. The whole thing is in the docket, and it's a crying shame. If you're IFR and rotating up into the goo, that airspace is yours. You fly your airplane. Do your after takeoff checklist. Get up and climbing. Don't even talk to ATC. Don't even acknowledge them until you're safe. 500, 1,000 feet, whatever it takes, you're cleared. Runway heading for the next 5 miles. You're cleared to 2,000 feet, runway heading. Take your time, get an autopilot on, make sure everything's good before you wrestle with any other distraction. All right, let's take a look at the fatals for me. I'm going to zoom through these and review them a little bit. We already talked about the number one, which occurred out in California. We've talked about all these in previous weeks here. The only other one I wanted to home in on is 665 Bravo. That is accident number 6. It occurred on the 14th of May. We did not talk about this much. This is out in Wyoming. Larry Crosby, age 73, got into ice in his Turbo 182. He got into ice, and 2 people died on that accident. That's really all there was to it. November 40506 is an R22. Kind of a mystery. Didn't have much information. Turns out this guy was not a pilot. He was 93 years old. He was not a pilot, and he attempted to do some things with that airplane. I don't think he intended to actually fly it that morning, but he ended up dead. November 2946 uniform is a Cessna 172. We had previously guessed that this might either be medical or suicide. It's hard to tell. We didn't have very much information. Turns out the weather was, in that particular area, much lower than originally reported, so it looks like there's a strong possibility that Mark Gitson, age 69, was probably scud running and flew lower and lower and flew it into the ground out there. Still hard to tell on that one. November 430 Alpha Bravo. This is the PA-25 in Florida. This is the banner towing that we've already talked about. November 522 Mike Delta, the BE-90 in Arkansas. Johnny Morgan, age 76. Still no further information. My guess is still a medical problem with that. The DHC 6400. This is a heavyweight return to base. We don't know how come this thing ended up fatal, but it did not have the floats on it. It went in the ocean, and both guys died. And then a couple of fresh ones here. This Commander 114TC, the N number is 6042 Echo. I don't have very much information. I'm guessing this is a loss of thrust on takeoff and did not make it. The next one, November 272 Sierra. This is a V35B in North Carolina. John Bowfinger, age 68. I'm also guessing here, just a guess so far, it looks like loss of thrust on takeoff and stalled and spun it. And then the 182 in North Carolina, a rash of these things occurred right in a row. 3 of them on the 21st of May. November 182 Lima Golf is the 182 in North Carolina. I don't have a name on that. And then this really interesting one, tragedy here. Stanley Sands, age 76, a very experienced CFI in Florida, flying a 172. Here's the graphic for it. November 3 Kilo Victor tried the impossible turn and did not make it. There are some reports that there were some transmissions on the radio, a stuck mic, and somebody was yelling at somebody about getting off the rudders. I don't know if that's true yet or not, but we'll probably find out. In any case, both of these individuals, a very young female flight student and a very elderly, experienced CFI gentleman, a true pillar in the community and well-respected down there in Florida. I'm very sorry for these horrible losses as well. The very last one here is November 577 Tango Zulu. It's a Cessna 182. This looks like it went in from about 2,000 feet. This was a fish spotting 182. I don't have any information on the name or anything. I know that the pilot's body was found a day later. It kind of washed up closer to an establishment, and that's really all we know about that. That puts us at 16 for the month of May. Remember, May is not over. Our average is 18, so if you'd be like to be the last 2, you can contact me if you'd like to. Just pick any one of the same stupid things that we're constantly doing and just replicate it. You can end up on my list if you want to, and I'll be glad to put your picture on there. Just pick out any one of the common ways to kill yourself in an airplane. They're easy. Go out there and do that. We've still got space for 2 in the month of May. May's not over, so you can still go do that. I'm kidding, of course. I wish we could slow this steady drumbeat fatal accident rate thing that we got going on. But all we can do is make you aware of it, show you what the last guy did, and show you what not to do in your tiny little itty-bitty fledgling airplane. Don't be doing that. Let's talk about schedule. I'm going to be out in the Aircoop Convention Friday, the 2nd of June, speaking out there. And then the 3rd will be at Gaston's. I'm going to be at Gaston's Resort on Saturday afternoon, staying overnight at Gaston's. If you'd like to stop in and visit with us out there and have dinner at Gaston's Resort in Arkansas, that'll be fun. We'll be there Saturday night. And then don't forget, next weekend is Las Vegas, June 9, 10, and 11. I made a special video to tell you all about Las Vegas. That video is up and on the air. You'll have to search for it. It's the video just previous to this one. If you want to go on the crash hike, TWA Flight 3, Carol Lombard was lost. 19 people died on that DC-3 crash in 1942. We're going to attempt to hike out there. I got all the details on where to go and where to meet up. If you'd like to go, it's all free. There's no charge. There's no registration or anything like that. We'd love to have you. Dylan's YouTube channel is up and on the air. I think he's got his video number 2 up and loaded and ready to go. I can tell you right now, because I was there for part of it, his channel and his flying is full of mistakes. It's been about 6 years since Dylan's flown much of an airplane. He is behind and he is making mistakes. And Dylan's just the kind of kid, he's just going to publish every one of his mistakes. I'm embarrassed, but I'm going to clean up every one of his mistakes, and we're going to fix all that. If you'd like to ride along and watch Dylan improve, that'll be an interesting process, because boy, as of right now, it is completely ugly. But that's what he wants to do, and I think that's probably a good idea. There's no shame in showing what you did wrong and how bad you are and stuff like that. We're going to fix it. We're not going to let it ride like that. We're going to acknowledge that it is wrong, and we are going to fix it and make it all better. Glad to have you with us. Remember to take the day off for tomorrow. Do something nice for somebody on the holiday weekend. Remember our vets. Remember those who died and served our country and gave their lives for our freedom to fly our airplanes. For my tiny little itty-bitty fledgling YouTube channel, Dan Greider, Probable Cause.